common omen. If you start slow, that's a good thing, you know. And typically this is to avoid injury or to avoid failure. But I'm going to tell you today, regarding healthcare and a lot of other things, the general principle of start slow before you go. And I emphasize go for a good reason, which we're going to talk about, is very important. So let's take exercise, for example, right? Simple example, when you're working out, okay, not just for when you're beginning a workout regimen. They say, oh, start slow. I'm going to talk to you in a different fashion than, typically somebody would mention here. In the beginning of a workout, right, you have to go slow. This could be frustrating, but if you have to go slow through your sets. Now, during a set, you can go to failure, whether you be a novice or avid lifter. But between the sets, you might want to take some ample rest in the beginning to make sure that you're progressing in terms of strength and performance, at least if those are your goals, right? And so if you waited only 10 seconds from your first set fresh to your next set, well, maybe you could get your heart rate up and you could burn a lot of calories. And again, it depends what your goals are. If you did that the whole workout, you could. But you're not going to quite get the performance that you're looking for in terms of the strength and improving, your numbers and all sorts of, and making progress in those regards, right? So if you took, say, 4 minutes between the first few sets, well, then you'd have ample power each time to do more weight, right? To do something that's harder, more important than the weight, to do something that's more difficult, okay? And then later on in the workout, you can do a bunch of rapid sets. That's when you go and you do the rapid sets without any rest. And, you get a lot out of it in a different sense of just burning tons of calories and getting that cardio in. And you can do both, right? So it makes sense in the beginning to me, at least if you have similar goals to myself in exercise, to go a little bit slower in the beginning, even though it can be somewhat frustrating sitting there and waiting for a few minutes. It is worth it. If you did that set of push-ups and then say you were even just doing push-ups at home and then right away after you did a set and you got 80 the first set and then you only got 30 because you went too quick where you didn't have enough rest, well, maybe if you waited another minute, you would have got 50, right? So you did 20 less than you would have done. And then, throughout the workout, the numbers are very different in terms of what you did overall. So simple example, exercise. Diet. So with diet, how does this come into play? Start slow before you go. Well, you start slow in the sense that what's going to happen if you turn your world upside down if you're trying to eat healthy now? If you turn your world upside down and you do everything at once, it isn't going to work. You're going to become that New Year's resolution person unless you have really strong willpower, which, God, I hope you do. And God bless you if you can just dive into it like that. But aside from the mindset, that might not be so healthy on your body to just cut everything out and then become really stressed, right? Because stress is a major player when it comes to chronic disease. And, it's obviously something that we want to avoid, right? So the negative effects of stress could outweigh a lot of the good that you're trying to do in the beginning if you dive way too deep, too quick, you go too fast. Start slow, make small changes. The first week, if you want to start eating healthy, maybe just have half of that amount of soda and then the rest is water in the glass. Maybe it's hard to deprive yourself of that drink that you love every day that you've had for so many years and you become accustomed to, even though it's so bad for you. I would love to just cut it out, right? If I were somebody who drank it. But that's just a little example. I mean, eat a few healthy foods. Every single thing that you love, if you took out, it would be unrealistic. So you start slow. But then, once you've gained some rhythm and you have some flow, you can go, right? And then what's going to happen is you're going to become addicted in the best way to eating these healthy foods. The most positive definition possible regarding addiction. And because you're going to feel great. And your brain isn't going to be lying to you anymore, giving you false signals, telling you what is healthy and what isn't, right? And you will know healthy, right? And you'll truly enjoy the things that are healthy. You'll feel fantastic. So then you can go all in, and you can have your shot of wheatgrass you never thought you'd be able to stomach and would, vomit at the sight of before. It tastes really bad, but it's great for you, and just be a health freak, and be happy about it. But you can't do that right away. I think it's unrealistic. So we have the example of exercise. We have the example of nutrition. How about recovery from an injury. So recovery from an injury. You know, what's going to happen if you herniated some discs, right? You tore those fibers in the cushions between your bones that, you know, to the degree where the jelly in the middle leaks out and is pressing on those nerves, causing a lot of pain. You think it's a good idea to start sprinting, get up and walk obviously not, right? At first, you have to rest. It's an acute injury if you sprained your ankle. You have to rest. You have to be slow in the beginning, and you have to ice it, and you have to take a step back. And if you're somebody who's active, this could be frustrating, but you know what? That's the best thing you can do in the very beginning. So once that short acute period is over, for example, with the herniation, I like to get my patients moving as quickly as possible. Movement is medicine. But if they have a hot disc and they can't get out of bed in the first 1 to 3 days, what am I going to, I'm going to tell them the first couple of days, get up and go walk, even though it's extreme pain the whole time? Of course not. Right? We'll do conservative things. That after that, we'll start, maybe moving the legs up and down. We'll start opening the space between the bones, let the jelly leak in. After that, through that resting and icing phase, it could even just be a day or two, right? But you have to start slow, and then you go. Then you walk every day. Then you start walking and walking and walking. Of course, you work your way up to that, and some degree with an injury, with the ankle sprain, you don't go right into sprinting, right? Maybe you start jogging first and things of that nature, walking, right? Of course, but that's another example where this principle makes sense, right? Recovering from an injury. And then you go at some point and you come back stronger than you were before. You come back in better spinal health and alignment than you had before, right? So take something like addiction as well, right? Somebody is addicted to, say, even caffeine. There are beneficial health outcomes, associated with people that have more than 1 cup, and actually the more, the better in terms of the research. People that have 3 or 4 cups a day typically are healthier. I think a lot of that is attributed not directly to the caffeine, but more so to the type of person that is. They're probably a go-getter. They're probably very active, less likely to live a sedentary lifestyle and have other risk factors for disease like obesity, right? And so, if you're trying to wean off, though, say you have adrenal fatigue, right, where you have catecholamine depletion, don't worry about the words, things you produce, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, say, especially epinephrine here with the caffeine. In this case, that you've had so much of it over time, maybe you've tired out your adrenals, and you're like, all right, I feel exhausted if I don't have it, okay? And you say, I want to wean off. This is just one example of weaning off of anything, right? It could be somebody who loves to smoke the tobacco things, right? Or whatever. And if you cold turkey right away, what's going to happen? You could do that. You could have the willpower, but you're going to be really stressed, and it's going to be hard. If you're really realistic about stopping this, and you want to get off of it, then weaning off is very realistic. You go from 4 cups of coffee a day to that second week having 3 cups a day, right? And then maybe 2 cups the next week, and so on. And it's not a shock to your body. It's not something that's so stressful. And it's more enjoyable because you're not just taking away that thing that you loved and you were addicted to in the worst way, right? Caffeine maybe isn't the absolute best example here because it's not something that's bad for your health unless you have a heart condition or something like that, right? Or you do suffer from adrenal fatigue. But take something like tobacco use, right? Even if you're somebody who smokes cigarettes, I would never recommend anybody to do that. Obviously, it's horrible for your health. Tobacco use is responsible for 25% of cancers. We're going to talk about cancer in the coming days a lot. Been reading a book and a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys on it. But maybe you go from a pack a day to just a few a day, and then hopefully it's 1 a day. Eventually it's none, right? Or you go to some other nicotine source or whatever you have to do if you're addicted to something like that. Realistic, start slow before you go. And then when you get to the point where you're done and you feel good, you're never going to want it again. You're going to go all in, and you'll probably do more things that are beneficial for your health than you did before, right? And to supplement all this with one more example, this isn't quite as related to health, but take studying. Well, I guess it could be related to health if you're studying health topics like we do here at One Wellness, because we love it. But if you're studying, right, and you go through the notes, you're cramming and you go through really quickly the first time, you think there's stuff you're going to miss. Well, obviously, right? I mean, a lot of these words are new to you. You know, you don't understand the full definitions. You don't understand exactly how everything is interplaying and what it truly means. And so, if you went slow through the beginning, maybe you couldn't, to each their own in your style, but you know, maybe you could absorb it really well. And you might be saying, "Oh, I'm taking a long time," but after you get through it slow the first time and you really understand what you're reading, the second time will be faster, and the third time, boom, you'll go. It'll be quick. You'll know everything what you're talking about. You'll get an A on the test. I always say, you go through it once. If it's a really difficult course, at least, you know, you get a C. Maybe you'll get a B if you're lucky, or maybe you'll fail. Right? Go through it twice, you get a B or an A. Go through it 3 times, you should get that A. But you know, you go through it slow the first time. The first time you're doing something, some trade, you do it slow, and you really understand how to do it. You understand exactly what you're doing, instead of worrying about getting through a lot at once, right? And so that principle applies to health. It applies to a lot of things in life, and hopefully it's something that can help you to improve your life. So that's what we got for you guys. I hope you're having a great day. Happy Saturday, my friends. Saturday's a great day. Who do we got on here? Say what's up. Gzilla. What's up, Killer Chinchilla? Chris Presco, how you doing? Lalo. RMR, Chesty. OG on here. We've seen you out here before many times. Thanks for coming on. AD Cash, JW. Kevin Joyce. Ma, I love you. Hope you're having fun with Natty. Sure you are. Jock Comos, what's up? Bull City King. Brandon Malone, what's up, brother? OG, Meg, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Kim Jaciendo, Trey, Jarislav, Jay Dizzle, love the name, and I have many skills. Good for you, that's fantastic. As for now, if you guys don't have any questions. So we got for you folks. We'll see you tomorrow, baby. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll see you then. Have an awesome one. Thank you so much, and happy Wellness. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Charlie, what's up? See ya.